Who was Mary Magdalene? It's a good question. A lot of people have always had different thoughts about Mary Magdalene. Hi, my name's Jim Smith. I'm lead pastor of San Antonio Heights Community Church here in Upland, California, and we're going through a series called Easter People, just a look at some of the people involved around the Easter story. And today we're talking about Mary Magdalene. There was a pope way back in the 500s, a Roman Catholic pope, Gregory, and he just kind of lumped the sinful woman in Luke chapter 7, another woman who came and anointed Jesus' feet with perfume, and also lumped Mary of Bethany all in together, plus the woman that was caught in adultery and they were going to stone her to death. And he said, all those women, they were just one. It was Mary Magdalene. Just not true. But books have continued to be written about Mary Magdalene. Movies have continued to portray Mary Magdalene as an unfaithful woman, a prostitute. Just not true. So who is Mary Magdalene? Well, if you go to Luke chapter 8, you'll see a story about Mary. And she's mentioned about 12 times in the Gospels. But Luke chapter 8 says that Jesus took 12 disciples with him, along with some women who had been cured of evil spirits and diseases. Among them were Mary Magdalene, there she is, from whom he had cast out 7 demons. Joanna, the wife of Chuza, Herod's business manager. Susanna, it's the only time she's mentioned, is there. And many others who were contributing from their own resources to support Jesus and his disciples. So who was Mary? Well, number one, Mary was a faithful follower of Jesus Christ, a faithful disciple of Jesus. You go, what is a disciple? Well, it's pretty simple. It's a learner, pupil, a student. That's what it means. You're just trying to follow your teacher. And a disciple of Jesus is just not someone who believes in Jesus, but someone who actively learns from him and models their life after his ways. And that's what Mary Magdalene, she did. A couple things about her. Number one, she wasn't defined by her past. Some women who have been cured of evil spirits and diseases. So there are a number of women that had been cured by Jesus. And for Mary Magdalene, Jesus had cast out 7 demons. 7 is a number of completeness, and the world was completed, and God rested on the 7th day. Rainbow has 7 primary colors. There's 7 days in the week. There are 7 continents. And so it's like a description of fullness. And Mary was totally taken over by a bunch of demonic spirits, and controlled her emotions, her thoughts, her actions. And Mary was delivered from that. She was transformed by Jesus. Jesus had cast these demons out of Mary's life. And as she went through the rest of her life, she wasn't looking back and say, well, I act this way, I say these things because of my past, because I was controlled by demons and they've had a lasting impact on my life. That's not what Jesus does. Jesus heals completely, transforms you completely. He sets you free from the past. The Apostle Paul wrote to a church in Corinth. He says, therefore, if anyone is in Christ, a new creation has come. The old has gone. The new is here. The old is, bam, gone. You think of the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego there in Daniel chapter 3. And King Nebuchadnezzar didn't like the fact that they didn't bow down to a statue. They worshiped God. And so he said, I'm going to kill you. Threw them into a fiery furnace. But they didn't burn up. In fact, Jesus appeared right there in the furnace with them. So he commanded them to walk out. They came out of the furnace, and nothing was burned. And they didn't even smell like smoke. Wow. Got an idea of going back and looking at our past. Hopefully we don't smell like smoke. We don't smell like the past. We've turned over a new leaf. The old is gone. And Jesus has transformed us. We learn lessons from the past. It's a rudder to steer us in the future, but we're not constantly looking back. We're kind of like, well, that was my past. Mary Magdalene was transformed, and she didn't let her past define her. And she also was full of gratitude, just full of gratitude. You read that, and Jesus cast out the 7 demons. Jesus did it, not her. No way did she cast out any demons. It was all Jesus. And we got to realize Jesus gives us life, gives us talents, gives us abilities, gives us opportunities. It's all Jesus. And Mary Magdalene she was full of gratitude. And in fact, one of the things she did, if you look down there, she was very generous. She used her resources to support Jesus and his disciples. She did that. She probably was very wealthy. Now, her last name is not Magdalene. That's just announces who this person is, her family or the town that she was from. Jesus was Jesus of Nazareth. Well, that's what they did in the old times. Mary Magdalene said she was from Magdala, which was on the shore of the Sea of Galilee. It was a very busy seaport, not a seaport, but a fishing port. And so she could use her wealth because that was a wealthy city, and she used her wealth to support Jesus. Now she was grateful, said, what can I do? She kept her job perhaps, but had income coming in, and she used her income to support Jesus and his ministry and the disciples. And she joined Jesus, and yet she probably still had some income, and she was influential because you see, there were 2 other women mentioned, but many others who weren't. And you have Joanna, and then you have Susanna, and they were wealthy. And so Mary Magdalene was influential. She had unwavering faithfulness, even in suffering. She was hanging in there. She didn't run when it got tough. She faithfully had a ministry of presence. And sometimes you say, what can I do? Sometimes you're just there. Mary used her resources, her influence, but she was just there. What can I do? I'll put some spices on the dead body. Mary was the first one to see Jesus after he rose from the dead. She shows up at the tomb is open, and she goes, yikes! And she might have been with the women at the time, but she takes off to tell the disciples. Peter and John come running quickly to the tomb, and by that, the rest of the women had gone. They go, where's Jesus? And John kind of stood at the entrance. Peter went in, no Jesus. They go back home, and then Mary wanders by herself looking. And the women had seen 2 angels, and they said, where's Jesus? And they said, he's risen. And they took off, and Mary goes in, and the same 2 angels are there, and she's crying. They say, why are you crying? Why are you crying? She goes, they've taken my Lord, and I don't know where to go. I need to find him. I need to put the spices on his body. Just tell me where he is. I'll go back. I'm going to pick up the body. Really? He probably weighs over 200 pounds with all the spices and stuff, and I'll bring him back here. Who took the body? And the angels might have just gone, just a little, look behind you. And there was Jesus standing there. She thought he was a gardener. But then she said, where'd you put him? And he just goes, Mary. And just the sound of his voice. I mean, sometimes when you have an emotional thing, your adrenaline's going, but then you call a relative or a friend and you just talk to him, and all of a sudden the emotion just breaks. And Mary just cries and clings to him. Oh, I'm so glad you're alive. And Jesus says, don't cling to me, because it's going to be different now. I'm going to go to my Father, and I'm going to send my Spirit. It's going to be all new. But you know what? I want you to go tell my disciples that I'm alive, and I'll see them later. And she runs back. She goes, I've seen the Lord. What an opportunity to be the first one to see Jesus. You know what? Just have a great ministry of presence in your life. Be faithful in following Jesus. Look for those opportunities to be influential, be supportive, just to have a presence there. And sometimes you'll see an opportunity that God will just give you an honorable position or an honorable moment. That's okay. We're not doing this to get honor for ourselves. We're doing this to glorify God. We look at Mary and say, what a great disciple, a faithful disciple of Jesus. I want to be that person, just like Mary. Hey, have a great week. Thanks for checking us out. And if you're ever in the area, join us at San Antonio Heights Community Church.